Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans. And I have to tell you that the video that's attached is going to become something that is very commonplace in the next few weeks in South Africa, leading up to the 2019 elections. Because the ANC, the ELF, and the ELF, that works for me. I meant BLF, but there might as well be the EFF. What's happening is that they're just vying for black African votes. And in the video that's attached, you have an honourable. Let me get this right. Okay, I'm sorry, Honourable. My hair looks pretty awful, but tell you what, your comments are much worse. Anyway, the Honourable ANC member Momele, who is addressing a crowd about why the amendment to the Constitution should go ahead. Now, what you need to understand here is that she is talking bullshit. What she's trying to do is she's trying to suggest that the Bantu and the Nguni tribes who let's remember, they invaded from the north, they came down from the north, and they exterminated the San and the Khoi in the area now known as KwaZulu-Natal. That is historical fact, okay? Historical fact. And Omar, who you can see her video where we had a live stream chat, it's on my channel. You can go and hear what she has to say, what the San and the Khoi think about the Bantu people. And it's not nice. They would, the Khoi and the San, who are the traditional landowners in South Africa, would much rather have the white population in South Africa controlling the lands that they do right now. And I'm not talking all the lands, I'm talking about the lands that they control right now. So when this honourable member, honourable, I'm having a rant now. I'm off on a rant. This honourable member suggests that the Bantu and the Nguni were kicked off their land by the whites. It's bullshit. They came down from the north and they invaded the Khoi and the San lands in southern Africa, which extended right up into Mozambique and as far north as Zambia. And in a recent video, I showed you the results of a civil war. And guess where these Bantu and Nguni people originated? In the same place, in Central Africa. That's where they came down from. They didn't live in South Africa or Southern Africa. They are invaders. And now they're claiming to be victims of whites who've stolen their land. That is bullshit. Okay? It's bullshit. Now, Jesus. I could go on for hours about this, but I'm not going to because it gets boring. But when I see a really low, intellectually handicapped woman trying to act intelligent in front of the camera, I get really annoyed when it talks about land expropriation without compensation. I'm sure that if we had Peter Groenewald up there debating her, within 2 minutes she would be a wreck lying on the ground, because he would be able to expose the bullshit she's exposing. Now, what the Bantu and the Nguni are about, and this is right through the history, you have to look no further than Shaka. They're about stealing, theft, corruption, violence, and killing. And it's about time that white South Africans woke up to this fact, because if you don't, you're going to become the victims. Now, I've had my mini rant, okay? But please subscribe to this channel. We're looking at options for white South Africans, because South Africa, let's face it, it's a basket case, okay? Unless the whites in South Africa can find someone or some group to unify them and take a stand against what's going on, there's not a future for the white South Africans. And as I've said to you so many times, I just wish a group would work with the Khoi and the San and set up and secede an area in the Cape, which could extend as far north as the Vaal River, the Orange River, going right through the Orange Free State, coming down back towards Port Elizabeth and East London. You know, that's the area that the whites should move into and just fortify. Because in a few years' time, when the Chinese get their nails into South Africa, which is what they're working on right now, they're not friggin' stupid. The Chinese are sitting on the side, okay, they're sitting on the side, they're pouring lots of money into South Africa, and they're doing deals with the ANC, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scene, a lot of money happening behind the scene, that ensures the future of people like Ramaphosa and Malema and all his little stooges. But the average black African is cannon fodder, okay? They're gone. They're going to go. Now, what I don't want to happen is the absolute stupidity of this black government being imposed on the white people in South Africa. And that's why I have this channel. I'm trying to help the white people who actually have a brain to find options, either to build or create a new state and kick all the Nguni and Bantu out of it, and just start anew in South Africa. And Orania is a very good example of that. And Orania is a crime-free area. In fact, it's the only crime-free area in South Africa. And you know why? Because it's run by whites. It's run by the Boers. This is not rocket science, folks. This is not rocket science. You've got two options. You either get the hell out of that country, because it's going to make Venezuela look like heaven, okay? And Venezuela is awful. So you either get out of the country, or you form an alliance with groups like the Khoi and the San, set up your own independent state, independent of all these bloody goons like Malema and the EFF and so on, and defend your borders, which is not hard because there's no South African army anymore. But once the Chinese get in there, they will bring in big time all their military. So now is the time. There's a window of opportunity. Those are your two options, guys. Those are your two options, okay? Please, I'm appealing to you. I would love to help, but I'm in Australia. You need someone like Peter Groenewald or that other guy. Oh my God, Connie Mulder, I think his name is. They need to get up and start making this happen. Okay? And they need to do it now. Right now. When you have a looting in Cape Town, when you have the BLF walking around Hermanus starting to stake their claims on the basis of expropriation of land without compensation, you realize that you're running out of time. Stop being complacent, okay? The world media are just ignoring your plight. The mainstream media don't give a damn. They have their narrative, and that is that if you're white, you're racist. If you're Malema and you say kill the Boer, you're not racist. Now, I know that makes absolutely no sense at all, but that's how corrupted the media is. And unfortunately, that's how corrupted the message is that is getting out to the rest of the world. Because the CNN, MSNBC, and all these other television stations, they are playing or dancing to the tune of their masters, which are these New World Order people who want open borders and who want very, very low standards of living for the average man on the street, including the Caucasian community, because that way they can make more money. You are just a little bit of bait on a hook. That's all you are right now. And you have the opportunity to change that. Remember the two options. Either get the hell out of South Africa, and I'll keep on giving you options I find, or two, create your own territory in South Africa and borders, and do it very, very systematically. I mean, these Nguni Bantu people, like Malema and Ramaphosa and whatever, they couldn't organize a kitchen party. They're hopeless. You've got big groups like Sakelanders and the Boer Legion who can get in and fortify an area and then say, okay guys, this is now a different part of South Africa. And if you're Bantu and Nguni, I'm sorry guys, but you're going to have to get out of here, okay? Including the Malemas and whatever. And work with the Khoi and the San and the Coloureds. There's a huge community of Coloureds in the Cape. And most of them are really, really nice people. The problem we have is that the Bantu and the Nguni people, as you would have seen in that video where I said this is the face of civil war, and that's where they came from, Central Africa, they are inherently violent. Violence is like, to them, what motivates them. It's in their blood. The difference is that the whites, the Coloureds, the Khoi, the San, and my friends the Griquas are not violent. They have a totally different way of looking at life. And you guys have got to get your friggin' heads together. Otherwise there will be a genocide. Alright guys, please subscribe to be kept informed. That's the end of my rant. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Order members. Ke a leboga mme modulasetulo a ke rete marota Krete bahlako ba dithebe. Krama ga di manantweng. Ke be ke ba botse gore le room la magale ga le robale. Ga le General Joubert yena o titiretse semaka le dihlong ka go fega Kgoši Mampuru wa bobedi le go ahlolela Kgoši Nyabela ka hlolo ya lehu. O be a re kotsi wa Tukhola ke moswantšha le motho ya be ga re ke dišaphefu. Kgomona ka batho ba ba itsebela kae. Ke bolela ka bana ba ga Iseu. Iseu ke lethwile di Jakobo. Batho ba ba re hlakišago ba ke tšhaba sa ga Iseu. Be ba sena kgomo le pudi le kgogo be ba sena le yona. Ba tlile maka skepe ka mo. Ba hwetša ba magolo kuku ba rena ba le ka mo. Ba ragameletse. Ba re ya mogase ile go sa rena. Ga ba le Genesis 27 ba le 29 ka moka ga yona. Ba tlo kwa gore a bana selo lefase le ke la rena. A ke tsene ditabeng. Honourable Magwebu, we know thusha ke ntho ka ite fela. Floor crossing ga e sa le gona nne. Nna le go bonya ka gore tlo cross go African National Congress. Ben ka se recommend gore ba go tšea. Ko go lwela the defeated. High shame on you. From the onset, we, the African National Congress, categorically and without reservations, state our support for the Joint Constitutional Committee report, recommending that Section 25 of the Constitution be amended to make explicit that which is implicit in the Constitution with regard to expropriation of land without compensation. This indeed a legitimate option for land reform to address the painful history of arbitrary dispossession of land. Land is a very emotive issue and cannot and will not be left unattended by the African National Congress. It is in the interest of social and economic stability that racially skewed patterns of ownership of land be addressed. The land question is not new to the ANC. In fact, the formation of the ANC is as a result of the dispossession of land of the indigenous African people, when land speculator William Sauti said, all Kafirs, even to Natal, must be subdued, their hands conquered from them, and themselves made servant. Shame on you. Today is the day. The glorious movement, the African National Congress, was already addressing the plight of our people. The ANC was formed as a result of the Glengarry Act of 1894, which sought to make Africans mere wage laborers without means of production. The Glengarry Act was later incorporated in the Native Land Act of 1913, which forbade Africans to buy land outside of the 13% which was allocated to them for occupation. We have always been leading the struggle for land, be certain African National Congress. The President General of the ANC, Pixley Saka Sam, is one of the leading figures in the struggle for land. In 1913, he established the South African Native Farmers Association, which brought the Dagaskral and Driefontein Achokai Minor farms in the Transvaal. They would have bought some farms but were impeded by the Native Land Act, which made it illegal for Africans to buy farms in the Transvaal. The forced realization of land disintegrated Africans from an economic and social life, and we are still faced with that legacy to this day. Tla tubatse, tla modimolle, tla lephalale, tla waterberg, tla musina. Ga o dula thabeng ba re fologa go na le koporo, ga o dula mashimong ba re fologa go na le makhie. Kganthe batho ba ke batho ba mohuta manna o tho ya vuma Magwebu, batho ga ba tse re vumela salary in your pocket. All wars of resistance were essentially about land. They were not about democracy. They were not about anything but land. Ba re bribe, ba go Britain, ba re la strata, ba re Kgoši Mampuru the second. Ba nagana gore re tlo robala ra we cannot find the land. We are claiming our land back. When first Khoi Dutch War began and when the San people viciously resisted the extension of settler farmers into their hunting grounds, the war was about land. Honourable Stowe can attest to this. But to Bakwa Northern Cape, the Khoi and the Sons, the Aborigines, we cannot deny that. The cause led by leaders like Sandile, the cause led by leaders like Sandile, Ndamle, Hinsa, Makana, Makoma, and many others put up strong resistance against the settler and colonial communities. The cause heroically fought 9 wars of resistance from 1779 to 1878. The Xhosa were pushed from their land across the K River and lost the Amatola land and land around the Nyumi, Keiskamma, and Buffalo River, land which was their post-prize possession. They were squeezed into confined spaces. 16,000 Xhosa died in that war, and even more thousand dispossessed. The traditional structure of government destroyed, over 100 years of wars about land. Shame on you. Seeking to destroy the Zulu, through you, Chairperson Ukaola must be listening. Seeking to destroy the Zulu kingdom, the British force made a crescent defeat in the Battle of Isandlwana. The Zulu were seized with wars and on every occasion, and they fought back. Overpowered by superior weapons, the Zulus were defeated in the Bambata Rebellion of 1906, which was a move to make them taxpayers and wage earners. Land was at the heart of this war of resistance. Led by the astute Kim Musheshe, the first who carried long opposition to colonial expansion. War broke out in 1854, and the Sotho defeated the British in the Battle of Berea. With their allies, the Mfengu, Tlokwe, and the Rolong, the Sotho subdued the Boers in the Sotho-Boer War. This too was about our land. The Pedi, led by King Sekhukhune, put up a tenacious fight against the settlers who tried to settle on their land. The Boers encountered strong opposition as their farms moved toward the Venda borders. My grandfather, Kgoshi Mampuru II, was killed by hanging when he refused to recognize the colonial governments of the British and later the illegitimate Boer Transvaal Republic. Olele, abagamo bumufas. Bring back our land. All these wars were about land. People were slaughtered because of land. Families were torn and broken down because of land. A nation was divided because of land. Land is life. Land is not just a commodity. Land is identity. Land is both material and spiritual. Land is a means of production. Land is human dignity. We are debating a very serious matter here today. It is very spiritual. The New York Times of December 1886 painted a gory and a barbaric scene of Kgoshi Mampuru II's demise. Mampuru was led naked to the jail yard in the presence of 200 wives. The first rope used broke when the trap was sprung and Mampuru fell into a pit below. He was dragged out, however, and another attempt to hang him was successful. Since 1923, when the first ever Bill of Rights in South Africa was adopted by the ANC, human rights and the attainment of justice have explicitly been at the center of our concerns. In 1943, we adopted African Claims and the Freedom Charter in 1955, the Constitutional Guidelines in 1991, and the Ready to Govern document in 1993. Since its inception, the ANC has been committed to the struggle for the return of land which was arbitrarily taken through colonialism and apartheid. The land question has been a pillar of our struggle as the ANC. In 1923, Bill of Rights was declared. The Bantu inhabitants of the Union have, as human beings, the indisputable right to a place of abode in this land of their fathers and mothers. And all Africans have, as the sons of this soil, the God-given right to unrestricted ownership of land in this, the land of their birth. The Freedom Charter clearly states that the land shall be shared among those who work it. That restriction of land ownership on a racial basis shall be ended and all the land redivided amongst those who work on it. That all shall have the right to occupy land wherever they choose. In our Ready to Govern, Honourable Nzimande has already alluded on this matter. And then again, Chairperson, allow me to just indicate that in line with our consistent policy position on land reform, the 54th National Conference resolved to use inter alia expropriation of land without compensation to accelerate the redistribution of land. It is indeed a myth that the ANC is led by others when it comes to the issue of land reform, when in fact, the ANC was born as a result of the land question. The African National Congress, NEC, reaffirmed mixed ownership of land, allowing for state ownership and lease, communal ownership and private ownership of land. We take a cognizance of the mixed economy we have in South Africa. The ANC does not subscribe to views of British statesman Alfred Milner, who tried to influence society into thinking that Tribal and communal ownership of property is barbaric. On public participation, Honourable Nzimande and Honourable Kwele has alluded on that matter. Indeed, Honourable Chairperson, we travelled, we crisscrossed the country, trying to listen to the people of the country. Indeed, people want their land back. The message to the masses, to the people of our beloved country, South Africa, we have heard you. We know you're gaining hunger for land. We were present when you shared your lived experience, when you told us of the impact of this position. We heard when...
Honourable Mampuru, your time has expired.
The ANC supports the amendment of Section 25 of the Constitution.